So set yourself up on your mat, lying down with your knees facing the ceiling, your feet flat on the floor, and your back nicely released and relaxed on the floor. Soften the shoulders, soften the jaw, close the eyes if that's helpful for you. Have your hands loosely by your sides. It doesn't really overly matter the position you put them in. We're going to focus on our breath. So you might find it helpful to put a hand on your belly, or both hands on your belly, one hand on your chest, whatever feels comfortable for you, so that you can really connect with your breath. Focus on your breath. And focus on your spine. So all spines have some degree of natural curvature in them. They vary greatly from person to person. So don't be dismayed if your back doesn't contact the floor. It may just be that's the way you're shaped. But if you are aware of areas of tension in the back, then try and soften into those areas. And you may find that by softening into those areas and focusing on the breath, your back starts to sink closer down towards the mat. As you release tension, particularly from the hip area, the pelvic area, and the vertebrae release down onto the floor. So at the moment, we're just focusing on our breath, watching the breath coming in and out. And from focusing on the breath, we move to lengthening the breath. So make sure that when you inhale, you're getting a full breath. The rib cage is expanding and the belly is doming. And as you exhale, you're fully ridding yourself of that breath. So as the breath becomes fuller, then it can become slower. And this, especially a slow exhalation, has the effect of slowing the heart rate, activating your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and restore mode of your autonomic nervous system. So this brings you out of panic, out of your fight and flight, into the place where your body can fight infection, carry out minor repairs, and do all its background deep cleaning and maintenance tasks. So it's a good place to be. Next time you inhale, float your fingertips up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, draw the hands gently back towards your feet, towards the mat. Do that a couple more times. Watch that your back isn't overly arching. There'll be some movement. But try and keep the lower ribs tucked down towards the hips so we're not getting a massive arch. If you've got no shoulder issues and you're comfortable to do so, you can start taking the arms a little bit further overhead, still coordinating your movement with your breath. So you might be able to take it much more slowly than I'm doing. I'm talking, so I'm not really as focused on my breath as perhaps I could be if my brain wasn't working as well. That's not to say your brain isn't working, but if you focus your brain on your breath only, then you get a little bit more concentration and focus. You get a better bandwidth. People who are using Zoom all the time will know what happens when you've got too much going on in a call. But let's not think about that just now. Let's just think about the breath. Inhaling as you take the arms overhead and exhaling as you draw them back in. Do one more here. Leave the arms overhead. Soften at the elbows if you need to bring the arms towards the floor, and then gently stretch one leg and then the other away. So we're now in a prone position. And from here, we're going to bend to the right. So take hold of your left wrist with your right hand and start to take your hands over to the right. So I'm taking my hands over, stretching out the left side of the body and drawing my right ribs down towards my hip. So this is a side bend on the floor. You might not be able to see very easily. You're making a C shape with your back. If you want to make this stretch more intense, you can walk your feet over to the right as well. So you've got a curve throughout the whole spine, but make sure that you're keeping your left shoulder and your left hip on the floor. So don't go so far that they start to roll up. If you're very flexible in the side body, you might find you can cross your feet at the ankles. Taking the left foot over the right is going to intensify the stretch. So it's a really strong stretch in the side body. If you've got issues in your ribs or in your hips, then don't take it so deeply. Maybe omit the ankle fold. One more breath here, and then walk the feet back to center. Release the arms to center. Let go of your wrist and take hold of your right wrist with your left hand. So we're going to go on the other side, opening up the right side of the body as you draw your left elbow over to the side, keeping your right shoulder firmly on the mat. So you can add on by walking your feet to the left. Nice curve in the side of the body. Feel the stretch on the right side. As that right hip draws away from your right lower ribs. Make sure again that your hip isn't lifting. If you want to cross the feet at the ankles, you can. Makes it quite a bit more intense, and there will be the tendency for the right buttock to lift the floor. So try not to allow that to happen. You'll get a deeper stretch in the hip. Make sure you're still inhaling and exhaling deeply. And then we're going to uncross the ankles, walk the feet back to center, release the arms, draw the arms back overhead and draw one knee and then the other into your chest. Give both your knees a hug. So now we're going to start to activate your abdominal muscles. You've got a variety of options here. Bring your feet so that your shins are parallel to the floor and hover them above the floor here. So this is one option. Now we're going to take the arms and bring your right elbow inside your left elbow, crossing at the elbows and bring the backs of the hands together. So this is eagle arms, those of you who know yoga. Or you can cross so that your palms come together. I'll just briefly sit up and show you that. So I cross my arms at the elbow, backs of hands together, palms of hands together. Eagle arms. So from here, you can, if you like, do the same with your legs. You can bring your right leg over your left, crossing at the knee. Maybe you can also cross towards the ankle. So this is the full pose here. I've got my legs double crossed and I've got my arms double crossed. If that's too much, then you can just go for a single cross, or you can keep the legs uncrossed. From here, we're going for a little crunch. We inhale, we exhale, and we draw the elbows and the thighs together. And then we inhale to come back down. So the slower you can make this breath, the longer you're going to be holding that exhalation and holding up. That's good for your breathing, it's good for your brain, and hello, abdominal muscles. It's going to talk to those as well. So take the option that's right for you. I'm showing you the harder option now. If you don't like the crunch, then take it a bit lower or miss the crunch out altogether. You're still getting work on your abdominal muscles if you're just holding your knees up in this Pilates position here, balancing your knees over your hips, still working your abs. It's just not quite as intense as if you're doing the eagle posture with the crunch. We'll do one more here. And then we'll inhale and we'll unfold, unravel the arms, unravel the legs. Give the knees a bit of a hug towards the chest, roll them from side to side, take the break that you need. We're going into the other side. So now the knees set above the hips and the shins parallel to the floor. This time we're taking the left elbow inside the right, crossing at the elbows, backs of hands or palms of hands together. And we're taking the left leg above the right. So if you went on the other side last time or you got in a muddle, it doesn't matter. Just try and make sure that you've done both sides. Inhaling, and as we exhale, we come into that crunch. And we inhale to come back down again. We'll do 4 or 5 this way round, the option that you choose. You don't have to double fold the arms, you don't have to double fold the legs. But if you are doing that, it's a little bit more intense. The slower you make the breath, the longer you're actually engaging with those muscles. So when you've done 4 or 5, or when you've had enough, we're just going to unravel the arms, unravel the legs, hug the knees into the chest, rock gently from side to side. And we're coming onto all fours, so you can roll over to the side and push yourself up, or you can roll up across the feet and the ankles and come over onto your knees. I'm just having to be a bit careful here. Slightly run out of space. So adjust yourself so that you're back in the center of your mat. We're coming into cat-cow. So have your shoulders over your wrists, knees under your hips, and everything about hip distance apart. We exhale to round the spine, and we inhale to extend the spine. That will feel very nice if you've been doing those crunches. So we exhale, we round, eye gaze goes down towards the thighs, and we inhale, we come forward. So wrap your shoulders back and down. If you want to work a bit harder, draw your chest a little bit further forward of your shoulders. Exhaling as you wrap and round. Inhaling as you dip and extend. So let the belly drop at this point. We'll do one more here. And then sink your feet back into child's pose. Sink your hips back into child's pose. Draw the brow down towards the mat. Take a couple of breaths here. So we've got a flow sequence today with a little bit of balance thrown in as well. Come up onto all fours, tuck the toes, press into the hands, wrap the shoulders back and down, lift the knees, gently draw your hips up to the ceiling, drawing your chest to your thighs, relaxing the head and neck, pressing into the fingers so you're not loading in the wrists, stretch out the hamstrings, and then bend the knees and walk to the front of your mat. Bending the knees again, opening the arms, taking them up and over, and pressing your palms together, bringing your hands to your heart center. So set yourself up towards the front of your mat with plenty of mat behind you, and we'll come into our flow sequence. Inhaling, arms up and over, press the palms together. Exhaling, come into a deep forward fold. Now we're coming to a halfway lift here. So press into your fingertips, flatten out your back, and draw your crown away from your tailbone. Have your blocks here if that's going to help you to get a nice flat back in this position. Not always easy to tell. And then exhale, come back into that forward fold. Inhale, bend the knees deeply, take your right leg back into a long lunge. Keep your feet hip distance apart so they're still in parallel lines. Your fingertips are light. You're pressing through the back heel and you're lifting the chest if you can. So you're not loading into the joints here. You're making your muscles work. And from here, we're going to float the arms up and come into a high lunge. So wrap the shoulders back and down. Think about a triangle shape between, or a V shape between your fingertips and the base of your spine. Think of your energy traveling to your fingertips in that V shape here. From here, your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to bring your hands to your heart center. Press into your front leg and see if you can draw your back leg up and round and come into standing pigeon. So I'll show you from the front, it's easier to see. So you're drawing your right leg across your body, you're flexing your toes, you're drawing your little toe back towards your knee, you're tucking your tailbone down and lifting your chest, your heart center, and trying to find balance here. So use your breath, find your ekagata, find your focus. Into tree pose, version of tree pose, or you can drop your toes to the floor, an eagle pose variation. So take the one that's right for you. We're working into standing pigeon if you can. Now from here, from your pigeon pose, You're going to unwrap and come into warrior 3. So this is where the blocks are really handy. You can have your fingertips on blocks. Keep working your right hip down, working your toes down towards the floor. If you've got a piece of furniture here, a chair back, a piano, or the wall, you can use that to help you get some alignment. You can really push your right heel away, push your fingertips away from you, or use the blocks, or freestanding, nothing at all. The choice is yours. One more breath here, trying to find your balance. If you've had enough now, if your front leg is really complaining, drop straight down into low lunge and wait for us there. Otherwise, there's one more move, and that's to take your hands to your blocks or to the floor, lift up your right leg as high as you can, and tuck your forehead towards your shin. Those of you who've got good balance may find you can take your hands to the calf and balance here. Ooh, that's hard work for the calf muscles and the ankle. So do what you can here, standing split. And then inhale and drop that right leg back into the lunge, meet in lunge if you're already there. And we're going to continue our flow sequence. So if you're familiar with Vinyasa flow and you want to carry on, then do your own version. Otherwise, we're coming into plank. We're dropping to the knees. Untuck the toes, bring the chest and chin down to the floor, keeping the bottom high. Inhale, draw your chest forward, wrap your shoulders back and down, keep your eye gaze down and your neck long. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, draw the right leg all the way forward to the front of your mat. So we're now in lunge on the other side. Exhale, bring your left foot in to meet it, forward fold. Inhale, up and over. Exhale, hands to your heart center. Great. We've got all that to do on the left, so I'm going to turn around just so you can see me more easily. You can stay where you want if you like. Inhale, up and over, press the palms together. Exhale, come into a deep forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to fold again. Inhale, take the left leg all the way back. We're in low lunge. Set up your low lunge, get your hips level. Then when you're ready, inhale into your high lunge. Wrapping the shoulders back and down. Think of that V shape. Draw your shoulders back. Eye gaze can come to the ceiling if your neck's comfortable. So now we're coming into our standing pigeon on the other side. Hands come to your heart center, back leg comes up and over and round. And again, I'll show you that from the front. It's easier to see. So this leg's coming up. Left leg, drawing the little toes back towards your knee. Tuck the tailbone, lift the chest. It's quite hard on the standing leg. So come into another option or drop the foot if you don't like it. Otherwise, try and find your focus. Use your breath. Find that spot. Focus on that spot to the exclusion of everything else. One more breath here. Then we're coming into warrior 3. So the front leg comes out and round and goes behind, square off the hips and lift the heel. So it looks like this. Power away with that heel. Use a bit of furniture, use your blocks, or stretch your arms out in front. You're working to get this hip down so that your lower back is level. Hold it there for a few breaths if you can. And when you've had enough, you've got the option of dropping straight down into a low lunge, or you can advance the move. I'm just going to come off the mat by coming into standing split. So you can stay in warrior 3 a bit longer if you want more of a challenge. You can drop to lunge. You can come into standing split. You're aiming to get your forehead in the direction of your knee, and maybe you can float your hands off the floor and take them to your back calf. Whoops. Do what you can. Hold into your low lunge. If you're tiring, you can go straight into child's pose and wait for us there. Otherwise, the flow. We come to plank.
We come to knees, chest and chin. We draw the chest forward. We come into cobra. We come into downward facing dog. And from downward facing dog, we're all going to come into child's pose. So if you want to stretch out a little bit more and down through the heels, tips, really stretch out. And then come down onto your knees and into child's pose. Sit back there. Find your breath. When you're ready, come up onto all fours. Draw the right leg all the way to the front of your mat. So we're in a lunge, but this stretch out the back body, but stretch the front first. Now take the right hand inside the right foot and draw your chest forward. So here you may find you need to take your foot a little bit wider or take it forward if you haven't got any room here, if your chest feels tight, if your hip feels tight, if your groin feels tight. Create the space that you need. You might find a more intense stretch by lifting the back leg. You may prefer to keep it lowered. If your blocks are within reach, you can maybe use a block so that you come down to your forearms. Some of you may not need your forearms, but if you're coming to your forearms, watch you don't roll over to one side. Try and come down evenly, pressing evenly through both forearms. Keep that back heel active so you don't end up loading here. Use your legs. One more breath here. Then press up into the hands. Keep your left hand on the mat and stretch your right fingertips up to the ceiling. We're coming into a revolved lunge. And then replace that hand outside your right foot and take your right foot back and sit back into child's pose. We're going on the left now. Stay longer in child's pose if you need more of a stretch. Otherwise, the left leg's coming forward. Set up that lunge. So again, open the front body first, and then bring your left hand inside your left foot. Draw your chest forward. You can lift the knee or you can stay here. Again, you've got the option of bringing your forearms down towards your block, or maybe you don't need the block. Keep that right heel active. Keep your back body long here. Really lovely stretch for the hips. Lovely might not be the word you're using, but I'm going to stick with that. One more breath here. Then press into the right hand and stretch the left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Revolved lunge. Lengthen your crown away from your heel here. Float that arm outside your left foot. Draw your left foot back. We're in plank. We drop to the knees and we sit back in child's pose. Stretch the fingertips away. So here's where you might need your strap. Have it within reach. We're coming onto our backs. So come down to your backs. We'll swing the knees around to the side. Stretch them out in front. Make sure you've got plenty of mat behind you. And again, you can come down slowly using your abdominal muscles, or you can come down any way that's possible for you. When you get there, hug your right knee into your chest. You can keep your left foot on the ground as you stretch the right leg up to the ceiling. So if you've got a strap, wrap it round the ball of your foot. If you haven't got a strap or you don't want to use the strap, hold on at the calf or hold on at the thigh. Don't hold on to the knee. So anywhere but the knee. Flexing actively, the heels going up to the ceiling, the toes are coming to your face, drawing the little toe even more, even further round. You can send the other leg away if that's comfortable for you. Stretch out the hamstring on this side. One more breath, then hug the knee into the chest. Draw that foot to the floor, bring the other foot to the floor, and we'll go on the other side. So option to keep your right foot down. Stretch your left foot to the ceiling, stretching through the heel, toes towards the face. holding on wherever you need to with your strap if you've got one around the ball of your foot. If you're using the strap, cautionary note, don't use it to bully yourself. Don't use it to get hold of your foot, yank it towards your face. That's not kind. And we practice kindness to all beings, ourselves. So don't get too carried away with the strap, or even if you're not using the strap, don't yank yourself about. You're just gently trying to open up that seam there. Give yourself a bit of a stretch here. Because the body's nice and warm, because we've done our routine, this is the time when you can just persuade your body to go a little bit further. But I use the word persuade. Don't bully yourself. Don't knock yourself about. Don't beat yourself up. Why would you do that? If it hurts, it isn't yoga. Never makes sense to abuse the body. We're going to soften that leg, draw it in, draw the other leg in. If you'd like to rotate the put the hips out to the side, bring your feet to the floor and gently open your legs, bringing the soles of your feet together. Supta Baddha Konasana. You can stay here for 3 to 5 breaths, and or when you're ready, stretch the legs away into Shavasana, corpse pose. So whether you're in Supta Baddha Konasana or Shavasana, we're lying on the floor, we're letting the hips open, hands open, shoulders soften, jaw softens. Lengthen your breath. Draw the breath in, long threads, and exhale fully. So what I briefly tried to say during our sequence is that when your mind is too full of stuff, the system starts to crack. You've only got enough bandwidth to hold so many things with proper focus. In fact, scientists have now discovered that we only really concentrate on one thing at a time. That multitasking is a myth. We just flit quickly from one thing to another. So stop flitting now. Bring your mind to one thing. Focus on your breath. Watch the breath. If you're able to stay here for a little bit longer, I invite you to do so. It's the best part of class. It's where we reap all the benefits from moving the body and calming the mind. So stay here, breathing deeply. And if you have to go, come up really slowly, rolling over to one side. Press your palms together. Namaste.